This
This
is
is
UNFD.
This is UNFD. And the podcast. The podcast.
Hey, I'm Jake. I sing in a band called Tropic Gold.
My name's Josh. I play guitar and do production-y, synthy stuff as well, also in Tropic Gold.
We just released a new EP back in October called What a Wonderful Experience.
And it's the type of EP that you could probably get in multiple of your playlists where you can dance to it, you can smash around to it if you want to headbang or throw yourself around to it. It's one of those sort of a bit all over the place, what was our mood kind of in the moment kind of thing, but it's got those dancier, kind of energetic and low down, moodier, driving at night kind of moments in it as well, isn't it really?
We come from a small little town near Suffolk in England. If you can't hear from our stupid voices, that's where we're from.
Yeah. I don't like tea. We live in the countryside. It's very secluded, very not rock and roll. It definitely makes a difference when it comes to the area that we live in, even though it is like super quiet. It's
Like, it literally is something out of a painting. Like, you could walk right outside the studio and you'd be in a painting.
Yeah, and it's like super quiet, which is like, I think a lot of bands talk about like retreating and stuff to like write, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think we're like really lucky that we don't have to do that because we don't live in chaos.
No. Yeah, 100%.
Despite how the rest of everyone's lives might be, we're lucky that we've got that sort of moment where we can spend however long we want in our studio, just in the middle of that piece,
Even just
really.
being here today.
Coming here to London is very much sort of like a wake-up call to the sort of gratitude that I have for where we live.
Yeah.
That most people like may not like, and they might even move away from it if they decide that there's not enough there
Some
for
people
them.
some people thrive on busyness, and I definitely get that.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never been quite like that, I don't think. And I think it helps with the focus on the music as well.
Yeah.
When you really want to focus, you want to put your head down, there's not so much going on around you that you have to filter.
Yeah.
And I feel like my life isn't this big filter of lots of noise. It's just the noise I want to hear, which is Tropic Gold.
Yeah, right. We'll get like the occasional train that goes past and we're like, what is that?
Yeah,
What's
what was
going
that?
on?
Okay.
What is all this noise? Or there'll be like a car horn. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a siren, but growing up in South Essex and then moving to Suffolk to get away from that, to be obviously with everyone and with the area of the studio and whatnot, like for me it made such a difference, maybe not necessarily in the sound or where the music was going, but more so in I was always more relaxed. Like being in that part of Essex is very hectic, not being able to have that open space that we have in the studio, well, that we will probably call it the barn.
We will call it the barn for the duration
it's
of
called
this.
the barn, and we'll sort of explain that.
We'll explain that.
But like where the barn is and everything, like, I mean, you can hear right now there's like reversing trucks and things like that.
Forklifts.
Like, there's never been anything like that. And I think rather than it being this affects the sound, it's like I don't have to, sort of like you said, like I don't have to block anything out to like to deal with anything, to be able to just sit down and write something.
Yeah.
And it's that, and I think maybe that does affect the sound, because if you are pent up and you're a bit more frustrated, you tend to write something a bit more different.
Right.
Whereas when you're like super chilled, super laid back, it's very much just like, I feel like when we're like that, we tend to go for the softer, don't take this to heart, out of my head kind of vibe of a song.
Well, then that even in itself, like towards where Don't Take This to Heart was being written for that EP, that was more maybe towards the end of the process of writing those tracks. I felt that was one of the last tracks to come for the EP, where we just in more of a comfortable headspace. Like, what was the time of year? I can't specify like the date in which that we sort of wrote it, but
I think it was April
time.
Yeah, so it was sort of coming to that period, which is weird.
Spring.
Because again, like it was, I mean,
it's so seasonal,
it's coming
man.
out of
it's so seasonal,
winter, isn't it?
Like, I've been miserable the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, because of winter.
Yeah. Like, can't stand it. We should talk about how we met and how we became real good BFF best buds.
Yeah, your opinion.
Okay.
I mean, we had like similar kind of paths growing up with music, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, like
sure.
I was very much, to be fair, I don't think my kind of attitude towards music changed at all. Like from being like I remember when I was very first sort of realised that music was something that anyone could do. As you know, I'm like over analytical. Like if a new album comes out or a new song that comes out, yeah.
In a good way though.
Yeah, and like all I want to do is analyse every single part of it to figure out not so much how they did things, but sort of like what it would be without those things and why it's important, and sort of like different ways to create what. So like I remember when I must have been like 8 when I really got into like electronic music, but not electronic music that we know of now.
Yeah.
I mean like hearing the electronic drums on like Michael Jackson albums.
Yeah.
Just like dissecting the shit out of it and writing down. I remember I had this little blue CD player and it was this little portable thing, and I used to hit play on a song, and then I had a notepad, and all I would do first on each song was write all the lyrics down. And sometimes if I got stuck, I used to ask like someone in the house to help me, like whether it was my sister or whatever. And
It's Beat It, Josh. He says it over and over.
He does, yeah. You're right. I got there in the end. Yeah. And I used to just write all of the lyrics down, and then I would go back to the start of the album, and I would basically make a tick sheet of like, are there guitars in this one? And I would tick it. Just to be like, yeah, there's guitars.
You made like one of those album grids, didn't you?
Yeah, I basically reverse engineered a studio session.
Yeah, literally.
I was like, yeah, they did all this.
Yeah, Rick Rubin's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I was like, I have room mics on there. I'm like 8, like, yeah, that's a stereo field set up on the overheads.
Yeah, love the compression on that.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Overly dissecting that and just carried that through to the next stage of like hearing Busted and being like, oh my God, what guitar is that?
Yeah.
Not like how do I was never really fascinated with how can I play that. It was like, what is making that? And I was just so obsessed with that. And I used to just like be like, oh look, and then I would be like, look, I learnt this. And I remember hearing Boulevard of Broken Dreams
Banger
for the first time and thinking how, you know, the one dun, 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 dun. Obviously it's like a tremolo of some sort.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my dad's office with my guitar playing the first chord with the volume going like this, like trying to replicate that effect, and just being like, I've nailed it. Like,
yeah,
this is how they did it.
I'm Billy now.
This is how they did it in the studio. Like, and just being like, this is great.
There's no other way.
So like my whole childhood was me just being like, I don't want to go outside. Yeah. I want to like this is so much better. Like I'm on my own, like total antisocial like kid, and playing concerts for family members that didn't want to hear it.
Well, one of my earliest memories was, and my parents were really. I thought my parents had really cool music taste. My mum, I think, had a love for ABBA. My dad had a love for like more classic rock, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, like the classics, you know. He had like a super cool music taste, and one thing that I always really loved, especially about the Bat Out of Hell album, was just how long the songs were. And, you know, obviously like it's super proggy anyway, but essentially I knew when I first listened to that album, I wanted to do something like Meatloaf. I wanted to be Meatloaf.
Just to put a quick pin in that, and we'll get onto this. This is like a really good example of the difference in our music tastes.
Yeah, big time.
Not even taste, just my lack of. I could not tell you what that album sounds like,
bro.
I couldn't tell you what
Meatloaf sounds like. We'll listen to it the whole way home.
We'll
repeat.
Yeah,
the songs are long, man.
I'm a bit closed when it comes to I guess you. Classic albums.
Yeah, it would be classic albums, I suppose, really.
Yeah. But yeah, carry on.
So they would play that a lot, and we had like a stereo. You definitely will understand this, like a classic probably Sony stereo,
the layers,
black layered stereo, right? Graphic equalizer on the bottom. My dad had no idea how to use. Like CD player, tape player, record player, you name it.
Can I use the vinyl? And whoever owned it always said, "No, the needles broke."
No, the needles broke. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. They just didn't remake needles.
No,
and that was just in Pride of Place in the lounge, and so essentially what I wanted to do was put on a concert for my parents. So I organised with my brother, whom I happen to have a twin. He doesn't like music at all, and is nothing like me. I convinced him to play drums for me. So we laid pans out, we laid pan tops out, we got wooden spoons and beaters, and he had a drum kit. That was his drum kit. I had a guitar, which was at the time like a plastic thing. like a broom probably or something like that.
Oh, so not a real guitar?
No, God, no.
Oh, right.
Oh, no,
When
I was 6,
right.
my guy.
Oh,
No, I
right.
was,
Oh,
I
right.
was
Got
6.
you.
I was
Yeah.
young. He was also 6.
Okay, fair.
Twin.
Because
Twin.
got you.
We played most of the Bat Out of Hell album, which is long.
When you say played,
Well, I danced and he hit the pans. But I made a point of telling my parents that when they tried to get up and leave, that they weren't allowed to. So
Reasonable.
they stayed. So what I did was try to get my dog at the time to be security.
okay,
She didn't stay.
No.
So it didn't work.
Right.
But most of the time it was good fun, and that was my earliest memory of playing music, really.
it's really funny that you say that about getting your brother involved, because when I was going through my stage of My Chemical Romance,
Love that.
and I started learning all the songs, me and my sister were only a year apart and were super close, and she was not interested in music in any way. We loved the same music. We would listen to My Chemical Romance, we would watch Kerrang together, all of that kind of cool stuff, and we always did it together. We had the same group of friends who also liked doing that, and I forced her to learn bass. And
Forced.
oh yeah, literally, just like to the point where we'd be like arguing about it. And I want to say that we would have been maybe 12 and 13 at this point, and we'd both learn dead together.
I love that.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun. But because she was so not interested in it, she learned it and she could play it like at the same time.
Fair.
To the standard of like a 12 and 13 year old. But she was playing it and she was just super interested in it. And I've got videos of us playing it somewhere. My dad's got them somewhere.
Why haven't I not seen them?
I don't know.
Why haven't I
I'll
seen
have to
this?
try and get them off of him.
That's so good.
Yeah. So like I did exactly the same thing where I was just like, I'm going to force you to enjoy this thing that I enjoy.
For sure.
Which is kind of what we do now, isn't it, really?
Definitely.
It's like, I know you're tired, but I want to do
I know you're tired, but I want to do this. Please come play with me.
Yeah. And then, a few years later,
Yeah.
you started or had
So-
your band on the go, and I had a different band on
That's
the go,
right.
which were just like
Lo-
kick bands.
local bands.
Yeah.
Just local band. And then we happened to meet, didn't we, on
on a show at the Barfly.
a show at the Barfly, which is no longer the Barfly.
Camden Assembly.
In Camden Assembly in London.
That was in 2012.
That was 2012. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an all-dayer.
And we only
An
spoke
all-dayer at the
outside.
Barfly,
Yeah.
man. If anyone hears this, they know. They
Yeah.
know. They know.
Yeah, paid
that
to
was
play.
tough. Paid to play.
Paid
That
to
was
play.
tough. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
tough.
And we had only spoken just outside.
Yeah, I actually specifically remember speaking to you inside when we were loading all our gear in, because we put our gear next to your band's gear, and I want to say that you had like a new guitar or something. I want to say that you were showing me something, like
What's that?
Yeah, you were showing me like something in your hands. Like I don't know what it was, like a pedal board or something, but I was like, that's sick, like something cool. Or, I don't know, but there was a conversational point for
That
some
actually
reason.
must be
like,
true, because it was in 2013 when you, and I still have the messages, when you messaged me
I know,
on Facebook.
yeah.
So we had never spoke after that point in 2012, had we?
No, not at all.
Like at
No,
all.
I think we
had
may have sent a couple of Facebook messages to each other or something, but
Yeah.
like it was literally nothing.
not
like,
conversational, not like I didn't even know where you lived or
No.
anything. All I knew is that you were in this cool metal band.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I didn't remember your band's name. No, I'm kidding.
Neither do I.
Okay.
And we had never really spoke after that until you messaged me asking to borrow the
Your
amp.
5150.
my 6505.
Oh, your
plus.
6505. That's right. Yeah.
And
I wanted
you
it
used to
for,
remove the wood out of it.
Yeah,
and it was
that's
just like,
right.
it's got valves.
I wanted it for recording at
That's
the time.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Guildford.
And then we never had any reconnection after that until 2017, when an old friend of mine
That's right.
was friends with the band that
Yeah.
you were in, and your guitarist had just left.
Yeah.
And I had not been in a band for about 5 years, but I was writing loads of random music. So for no one, I wasn't putting it out. I didn't even know how to. It was solely just because I was in that. I've always, like I said, that deconstructing of music. I remember I really got into really clean stuff. I really went away from rock and stuff. I bought a Strat, and I was super into like
Mumford and Sons.
Mumford and Sons.
Yeah.
Loved Mumford and Sons so
Yeah.
much, and I just wanted to make like so much ambient music. Which, saying that, if anybody is listening who has listened to Tropic Gold, that probably makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Where there are those moments of clean guitars, ambience, sort of like ethereal kind of like stuff that
They come
the keen
from
listener might hear behind the distortion.
They
and the
actually
drums.
come from a place of
Yeah.
listening. It's not the choices sonically come from we should just try this, or we haven't done a clean guitar in a while, so we probably should. It's not like that, is it?
And I was doing loads of that, and you were still in that band, but it was sort of fading out.
Yeah, it was kind of just
down.
like dying a bit, really, to be honest. Like,
and then we got introduced again, didn't we?
That's right.
Via the mutual friend.
And then you came to the barn, and
which we will get onto.
And you kind of, well, I mean, I suppose to begin with, you kind of came. I don't know if I speak for you, but with the intention of joining the band, it was just you came and you were like, "What's going on? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what's the plan? Like." And then,
well, I was super.
You had demos, didn't you? Like, you had like cool things you were working on, and we were like, "Fuck, like I want to work on that."
Well, it was just
I want to sing on that.
It went straight away because I remember you saying like, you know, you hadn't written anything for so long, and I was like, I've written loads of stuff that is like either usable, not usable. But what's weird is that where I was writing, I remember that there was a bit of a transition period before joining where I wasn't writing super clean stuff, and I went to like really heavy stuff.
That's right.
So then I went on to I took the vocal a cappella from Anaconda for Nicki Minaj. And I put like drop G,
that's
like
fat.
I did the whole song. I'll have to try and dig
That's
that
on
out
SoundCloud,
somewhere.
man. I'm certain I've got the link
somewhere.
for it somewhere.
Maybe. And
DMCA.
So I was in so I was in that kind of phase when I joined, and that was when we started sort of writing together like straight away, wasn't it? Like 2017. Yeah, start of 2017, and we started writing as if I was joining your band.
The previous band.
Yeah.
Which at the time the previous band was relatively heavy.
And then it got
I say
heavier,
relatively, like it was actually, we were quite heavy, but there were elements of melody. When you joined, we actually went quite heavy.
Yes.
And that became...
It was a bit of a pendulum thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I feel like we've always done that as well.
It's always gone like I feel like we always have to reach the maximum of something before we go, this is too far now, we need to come back. And then you reach the maximum of something else, and then you're like, we need to come back.
And I
to
think
the middle,
early on that used to really stress us out, didn't it?
Yeah,
because we would go to the maximum, and then we would have that swing back of realization of like, we can control this in a way that's a bit more to taste and not so extreme, and we'd be like, oh, that means we've got to bin that off.
I know.
Whereas now we'll write a whole song and be like,
we'll literally just be like, bin it.
Like,
we'll spend however long on a whole song, and then we're absolutely, and it's taken a long time to be like that, absolutely fine with saying, song's chalked, don't worry about it.
I think we were really lucky as well with all of us that there was never, and is still not, any like egos when it comes to dismissing things. So we've always said to each other, and sort of always carried it through really right from the start of like, if you've either got something to say or you're really against, we've never really had any moments musically, have we, where anyone's gone, I really don't like this.
I really don't like this at all. Like,
we've always been in the same agreement.
But it's also quite like, we are just genuinely quite respectful of each other. Like, there's no reason to ever be
we want to improve,
callous
not
about
disregard.
like, for sure, 100%. So there's always something positive to find from something, even if you don't like it.
And I think we found that really early on. As much as it frustrated us, it was really the first time, I think for you, wasn't it, that and the boys, that there was like a computer that you could write to.
We didn't
write a section, and it was okay to just delete it and write
because
a new one.
we didn't, like, realistically, right up until you joined, even in 2017, we weren't like a digital band.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
It
like,
was
whereas now I feel like
energy, but in
exactly like
in the barn.
Tropic Gold is, and I think will forever be evolving as a band that I want it to try and live on the cutting edge of technology, both live and in the studio.
Well, I mean, look at the uses of like AI throughout What a Wonderful Experience.
There you go.
And the stuff that we shot in the barn. And we've got a demo, haven't we, that has never been released before, that we're going to...
One of many.
Flick in, So just a sort of a small backstory, how we've always started projects. We work in Logic. A lot of people will just do random names, won't they?
Yeah.
They'll be like, new song, heavy bit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We have always just numbered it. So when I joined, the first song we wrote together was 1. This song is 5. That was the first song we wrote and finished in its entirety. It wasn't ever released, and we'll get on to why. After the first 7 songs, we had a bit of a kind of like, we don't really want to go down this path, but you can hear here how different it really was when we first started in this little snippet.
You're an animal!
We should explain what the barn is, being our central station, headquarters, hub,
International barn station.
yes, of everything we do. And we're super lucky that we've got this place where we can do all of our videos, if we choose to shoot them ourselves, photo shoots, recording, live run-throughs. Yeah, which is, it's amazing having that there amongst that area of quietness, really.
The barn is an ethereal hole of time.
It is. Everything gets lost.
Everything gets lost.
But everything gets found.
But everything will be found at one point in
Yeah,
time.
in
It's
the
a
future.
time capsule.
It is a time
that
capsule.
contains things possibly as old as time.
Yep, you're right.
As old as time.
Fragments of the
Fragments
Big Bang.
of the Big Bang.
Yep, dinosaurs.
Fragments of food producing equipment.
Yes.
Because
because the barn in which we record our songs used to be a factory that made bean sprouts. Our drummer George, his parents used to run a business where they used to grow and distribute bean sprouts.
when we had first started doing music, when I met George back in like 2010, 2011 when I met George, I think the business had been only folded for a few years. So really when I started going there, like the shell of the barn was still very much like set up for
Beans.
Sprouts.
So it was really, it was really when like musical instruments started to get put in there, because obviously, you were going there for a lot longer before Tropic Gold was Tropic Gold.
We had done like one do-up of the studio where prior to like doing what is kind of the shell of what the barn is now, it quite literally was metal RSJs, like an A-frame metal RSJs with metal cladding. That was it. You could tap the outside corrugated iron sort of thing. You could tap the corrugated iron and it was just as thin as the corrugated iron was.
So
tapping.
the perfect place to record audio.
Yeah, it was the worst place to record audio. And of course, like this was way back when we didn't care at all. Like, we were in like a heavier metalcore-ish band and we were just kids. So we just put all our instruments in one room and went, how loud can we make it?
Yeah.
Like there were, you could never hear the vocals. The PA was like this tiny little thing that was just useless. And that was when, we started to decide that we should probably bulk it out a bit.
And stop making beans. So no more beans in the barn. But because of what it was made for, it wasn't designed to be habitable. So it's really fucking cold.
Yeah.
There's no windows.
Yeah.
But then in the summer, it's really hot.
Really hot.
So it's made to look after food, not humans.
Definitely.
So, but we've spoke about this a lot, there is a uncomfortable window of opportunity in that when we have written in other places, like at my house, at my setup, we get too comfortable, too tired, and we want to go to bed.
It literally happened like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I came in and you were like, do you want a mince pie and cream?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, all right, man.
Do you want some pasta?
Do you want some Baileys?
Whereas you go sit in the barn in your coat, and do you remember when we all bought slippers and thermal gloves and cut all the fingers off so we could still do recording and stuff?
Yeah, because it was so Baltic in there.
Yeah,
so
it
uncomfortable.
gets horrendous.
But the uncomfortableness gave you the ability to focus as well.
Yeah,
well,
it
to a
kept you
degree.
awake.
Sometimes it kind of flipped over the other side when it was really, really, really cold and we were like, this just isn't happening. We're not doing this.
Do you know what it's like? It's like what they say about Vegas when there's no windows, there's no clocks, and they just pump oxygen in. And
Why do we not pump oxygen?
I mean, we need to get some oxygen, man. Like,
Can we do that? Is that a thing? Is it illegal?
I mean,
is it safe?
We can maybe. I don't know, dude. You're asking a lot of scientific questions.
True. Oxygen is sick.
We should just start with getting windows.
Yeah, that's true. We already have oxygen in there. We should start with windows.
Yeah, yeah. Which kind of sort of led us to last year. We sort of did some more renovation in there.
Probably the only renovation we've ever done that's made a difference.
Yeah, and that we didn't immediately knock down as well.
Yeah, I will stand by it that we did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
We did do a good job of that.
Yeah.
So we built a wall.
We built a wall.
An internal wall.
Yeah.
Inside of the large area of the studio we have at the top.
Yeah.
And I guess really the reason for that is because it was too big.
It was too big, too reverby, and it was too
First world problems.
Yeah.
Oh, my rehearsal space is so big.
Yeah.
But it was too reverby. It was too loud.
It was
way too cold. She
Yeah.
couldn't heat it. So we had like that little burner thing, like gas burner thing,
Yeah.
which was cool. When you had it on, it was like super hot, but you had to stand right next to it. And the second you turned it off,
Yeah, it was
instant
bolted.
freezing cold.
Yeah.
But just doing that meant that we stuck a heater in and we sound panelled the whole thing, didn't we?
Yeah, because
more or
it is
less.
where we record everything. So when it comes to any of our writing process, a lot of the time, pretty much for everything, a lot of what gets recorded in the demos stays in the final song, doesn't it? So
Yeah, because we kind of hyper polish though, don't we?
yeah, we overdo our demos.
Yeah.
So we record them with the same gear that we record the final takes with. I use a Kemper, so I don't have to rig up an amp. I don't have to mic anything up. I go straight into my interface. So if I've got fresh strings on there and the takes are good, then I probably won't re-record them
just
for the
stay.
final thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we do and why we sort of did that with the barn, and we're super fortunate that we've got that, and it is really like just lent so much into the making of everything that we are able to do and have learnt to do. The staple of it is that we can just record everything ourselves. So we do record everything. We program some stuff. It depends what it is. We do all the electronics as well. So it's really just like that area of like creativity that we're like really lucky to have.
That you happen to get lost in time when you do, because
You do,
have
yeah.
no idea what time of the day it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's very much a key space.
But it's also not just for recording audio, is it?
There's a lot of space in the building and nobody else occupies it because it's on George, our drummer's parents' property. We have that free roam to be like, let's clear all of this shit out of the corner that is valuable to someone, and we will be obviously very respectful of all the stuff that's in there, and we move it out of the way, and that is where we've shot a lot of music videos as well.
Yes.
We've
Well, it's because the rooms are so... They are... Well, when they're empty, they're fucking huge.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
massive. I couldn't even put a number on it.
yeah, but
So-
also really restricting at the same time.
Yeah, really restricting.
There's
yeah.
not a
Some
lot
of the
plugs.
ceilings quite low.
The
as
ceilings
well,
are really
aren't they,
low.
in the first, like the bottom floor, which is also the live space. So we have that kind of setup for our live stuff.
Yes.
Where we practice. So literally, you can walk in, do live rehearsals.
Yeah.
And then walk upstairs, and you're in a different space. So you kind of don't, which is cool. I quite like that feeling. I like that feeling of being able to walk into a completely separate setup.
Well, it used to be the same, didn't it?
Yeah,
Do you remember
well, it did, didn't
upstairs?
it? It technically did used to be. Well, no,
Originally-
yeah.
Originally, upstairs used to just be you walked up the stairs and it was one room. The drums were right in front of you. You had to
Yeah.
walk past the guitar cabs, and then you would sit at the desk where we recorded
Yeah.
everything, and you would be like singing, and you would hear the reverb from down the stairs.
Yeah.
Like it was so echoey and
Yeah.
just like it just wasn't right. Luckily, there's no neighbours there. There's like two, and they're
Yeah.
super cool with noise.
So remote, isn't it?
So yeah, like you said, it's got that kind of freedom to switch between multiple places, and which is awesome. Like there is, you know, we're obviously very used to it, so we talk about it like it isn't a big deal, and that a band wouldn't kill to have a spot like that. But
Yeah, but
we're
actually,
so fucking lucky to have
when
that.
you hear about bands paying like, well, I don't even know what the going rate is. That's like how bad it is.
when I
What
was-
is the going rate for a fucking studio space?
When the last time I paid for a studio space would have been when I was like 18, like in like 18-year-old band. And it was like £12.50 an hour. But obviously, like,
Yeah, but you've also got to drag all your
you've got to
gear
drag all your
there
gear, set it all
every
up
time.
like a show.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you're that age and it's at that time, you don't have just like the ability to be in there for as long as you want.
No.
So you're instantly restricted on time. And then you can't, you literally get people knocking on the door being like, can you turn it down? There's other people rehearsing it.
Because I didn't even have a car at 18. I had no form of transport. So like if I needed to go to a studio space, I had to get someone to drive me there.
Yeah, you had a motorbike, didn't you?
I had a motorbike until I was 26.
Yeah. So when we start a song, having all of that space, we have a lot of freedom into sort of like where we want to start it, don't we? And it'll be like
pretty limitless, really.
It can be so random. So one of the things that we do have and we utilize quite a lot is we have on our Instagram chat, aside from our one where we would just talk shit and send each other memes and stuff.
So many memes.
Yeah, there's another one where me, you, and the Tropic Gold page are in there, and we don't talk in there, do we?
Just
we
cool
if we
content.
see stuff cool, it's just our little content folder. If we see anything cool, then we'll send it in there.
Yeah.
We don't reply to it or anything. It's just stuff
But it can
that
be
will
anything.
just spark an idea.
It's not just music.
Literally
It's adverts. It can be like a photo or
cool edits,
a video. Literally, sometimes it's just I like the color of this.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I like this red.
Yeah, literally.
It's like pin drop that and use it for something. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like a really good thing to just refer to, especially when you forget about when you're inspired by something and you're in a particular mood. You're not always like inspired by it again when you listen to it later, are you?
Yeah.
But then the flip can happen as well, is you go back to it and you're like, oh my God, why have we never done anything with this?
Yeah.
Because in the moment you were like, this is cool, but I don't think anything more of it there. So with all of that barn space, if we want to just sort of go in there and be like, I saw this video, we should make this for a bit of content, we will do that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actual sitting down and writing a song, a lot of the times when I'll sort of throw the base of a song together, it will be electronic. They start out a lot as just electronic songs, don't they? And then we will just sort of like, as we say,
we'll say TG it.
Yeah, we'll TG it. So
that's the phrase, isn't it?
yeah,
We'll
it's
TG
like,
this
it just
up.
needs a bit more TG.
Yeah.
So we'll like throw some drums on it, throw some guitars on it. But if you strip stuff back away from what it is, the final product, it's really probably where it started, isn't it? And
started as an electronic song, really.
yeah, and a lot of that. Do you remember the video I sent you for Pretty Stranger?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it was
because
like
that became like literally note for note, beat for beat.
The song.
While
I was getting dressed.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I can't stop right now because
yeah.
I'm going out, but I've got an idea for a song.
Yeah. No, that was perfect.
So to explain that video, I was just getting ready. I was going out somewhere. This was October 2021, and I was just getting ready. And I was like, we had written something really, really, not even written something. We had found like a cool a moment in a song that we were writing, but it wasn't quite hitting the spot, was it? But it had a flow of like the it had that kind of flow. And then just while I was getting ready, it was just one of those moments, as cheesy as it is, one of those magical moments where everything just goes whoom, and you're just like, I have
to capture this
on my phone while I'm like looking for my keys. And I sent you a video which is like 1.5 minutes long explaining chin up while I'm walking around just being like, I've got an idea for a song, man, I just need you to bear with me. And it is literally me going, right, for the intro, just me explaining my memory, because I always forget stuff. So I've got loads of videos in my phone of me just going, like we can use that for something. And then I'll never look at it again. Or like I'll put it in like a notes thing, and then but that one I just happened to send you, and that was on a Friday, and we had finished recording the whole song on Sunday, and it was done,
and it was dusted.
So that was like a really like cool moment, of just being like, sick. And that's like, that was from our EP, Do You Feel It? And that's one of my favourite songs on that EP, and it just happened like that.
And as well, like the most of the parts that you sang in that became the actual parts that were in it.
It just stayed, didn't it?
Like it just stayed. Like the melody was perfect, and it just worked.
When we were writing Do You Feel It as well, when we were throwing those videos around, that is actually the same time we wrote Adrenaline from What a Wonderful Experience. And we nearly put it on Do You Feel It? So that song is the oldest of What a Wonderful Experience. And then we were like, no, this is going to be the start of the next phase.
And it felt like a new phase too.
Yeah. It
like,
was a really
Adrenaline
good
really
checkpoint.
felt like a checkpoint. Like that song, I think, spurred on the rest of What a Wonderful Experience. To me, felt like. And it had like an energetic vibe maybe that something from Do You Feel It didn't have.
We were really focused on that, weren't we?
Yeah.
It was very much like, we have this mindset of every time we do a release, whether that's a single or an EP, there has to be a new layer on it, whether that's behind the scenes of who's releasing it, whether that's the way we're writing something, whether it's I'm going to get a new guitar and I'm going to swear not to use these tones that I used on this EP. Something has to be different. And it just forces a bit of like something,
individuality,
a little bit extra.
Isn't
And
it?
that,
Like, to the whole
definitely
thing,
like and not individuality from like other artists or anything, but from ourselves, because I don't.
You fall into a rut of being quite
this is comfortable.
similar and comfortable.
Yeah. Like, I like this synth and this guitar tone. That sounds fat. Let's just
which
use that.
in itself, like, what a wonderful experience, I felt was not a rut of similarity, because I think anyway, like, it showed a lot of diversity. If you were to take a song like Don't Take This to Heart and then you literally play it right next to the back of something like Adrenaline, like, they're quite polar opposites really, but they have running theme and like a string, something that attaches them, which I think is what I like to call like the TG thing, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's what we do, and we've kind of grabbed hold of that, and there's familiarity in it, you know?
Well, that's another thing that we throw around quite a lot, especially through What a Wonderful Experience, which for me personally, I feel like those 6 songs together is the most cohesive thing that we've done.
Without a doubt.
Like, Do You Feel It, we thought was cohesive at the time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we listened back to it,
realistically,
and
it just wasn't at
it's
all.
just all over
like,
the place. But you can hear what we were. I mean, well, I feel like I can hear what we were playing with, like with that pendulum that we were talking about, of going backwards and forwards between like Wish You Were Here.
Wish You Were Here.
Super chill, super electronic, almost like a modern take on like 80s kind of.
Really like an 80s, not a love
like
song.
almost like
maybe
a ballad,
like a ballad.
kind of. Yeah,
kind of.
It's got that kind of aspects in it, and that is obviously like a swing of the pendulum where it shows that kind of extremity of it. And then What a Wonderful Experience, I feel like the pendulum was still swinging, but the path was a little bit narrower. So if we did go to the extreme end of Don't Take This to Heart, like you said, it still
had a gritty vibe.
Yeah,
Do you
it
know
still
what
had
I mean?
that kind of
like,
vibe that you could play it on the back of Maniac. You could play it on the back of Damned. Like, you can.
Otherwise, like, the live set would have been fucking all
imagine?
over the place.
Yeah, live
like,
just
no
would
one
have
would
been
have had
awful,
any
wouldn't it?
idea what they
Yeah.
were listening to, like, at all.
Throughout the whole writing process of What a Wonderful Experience, it was a lot more freeing in terms of we had found what it was we liked about certain things, as opposed to what a lot of people would say finding a sound. It was more so we found what we didn't like.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing from Do You Feel It was we wanted more energy more often, not just in choruses, not just in bridges, not just in outros. We wanted to get those, you know, Adrenaline, first song on What a Wonderful Experience, dun, 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 ga, dun, 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 ga, dun, on electric drums, very much like our vibe. And we were just like, yeah, this is cool. And I think that carried out through. I mean, What a Wonderful Experience, I feel like, especially with songs like Feel Okay, I feel like Feel Okay could have gone on any Tropic Gold release.
Yeah.
It could have gone out following Human, like way back in 2019.
That song was interesting to write because...
Feel Okay.
Feel Okay, yeah, because... and I actually found a document on my Mac the other day, which was like the old lyrics for Feel Okay.
When it was 135.
135.
Again, on the numbering
of projects.
Yeah.
But the verse, the bridge used to be the chorus.
That's right, yeah.
Didn't it? So we then moved it around when we realised that the chorus also was a verse. Wasn't it? That we wrote that as verse 1.
Yeah.
And then
so the current chorus was verse 1.
Was verse 1.
And the current bridge was
the chorus. And
the beauty
it wasn't
of digital
until
songwriting.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to move it over here. Yeah. And that song just developing through moving sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating.
I think as well with that EP that we hit a really nice point of accepting simplicity. So like Don't Take This to Heart is such a good example of that. That's one of my, if not my favourite song from the EP.
Yeah.
And it is one bass line all the way through.
Yeah.
Chorus, verse, everything. And the first half of every chorus is just Don't Take This to Heart. That's it. And it doesn't do anything more than
hugely
that.
layered vocals in the verse, which is something that we do quite a lot. We do layered vocals a lot.
Yeah,
but it's very stripped back, very raw, very visceral.
And with that writing process of What a Wonderful Experience, it was, we put so much into the demos that when it comes to exporting them and the mixing process, the whole EP, and Do You Feel It was mixed by Reese May.
Reese May,
Legend.
big up Reese May.
Such a
bloke.
legend.
Yeah.
He's just done so much as well, like, and he's so patient because we're so involved, and he's such a good guy, and he's so insanely talented at what he does, and he just understands what
He
it
just
was
loves
that we
what he
want to
does
achieve.
as well.
Yeah, and he loves
what
it.
he does.
That, you know, it was not that I can mix anywhere near his level. He's just so good at what he does. But we put so much into the demos where if we gave somebody the demos and the masters, from a mix perspective, obviously they sound different, but from a production point of view,
you're not going to find much.
everything's pretty much in there.
Because it's being self-produced. We're producing it as we go.
Yeah,
you know, we're not really.
We don't really do pre-pro. Do we?
pre-pro
No,
anything
because it just happens as we're writing.
Development.
Yeah.
It's developmental. As you do it, it just becomes the song. So there are some Easter eggs inside of our music videos. One of them is what we just said about Feel Okay being demo number 135. In the music video for Adrenaline
Yeah, it's either Adrenaline
or Maniac at the same
actually,
time.
They might be in both.
Like, they could be in both.
Yeah, they could be in both.
There were Polaroids, weren't there? We
Yes.
took Polaroids
On the
and
set.
on the set we wrote on the Polaroids
Just random
stuff. And some of them were. We actually wrote "Don't Take This to Heart" on one of them as well, didn't we? I think, or something like that.
It was so we wrote all the song names on there.
Yeah, well,
as
that's
they
right.
were.
Maniac,
Yeah.
as they were. So at the time,
Yeah.
we hadn't named it. No, or maybe we had.
We hadn't named Feel Okay.
We hadn't named Feel Okay, and it was still called 135.
Yeah.
And so we wrote 135 on a
But as a-
Polaroid
as a time.
but as a time. Then there is a more recent Easter egg as well with the Get Over It music video.
Oh, the posters.
Not just the posters, but the Tannoy announcement.
Oh yes, that's right.
The Tannoy announcement
I completely forgot about that.
Is, if anyone had heard it, the one and only Alex Holcomb
Yeah.
from Radio 1 and Kerrang.
Yeah.
And she talks about what does she say in the Tannoy? She says, calling all maniacs,
This is
isn't
a
it?
call
Yeah.
for Maniac.
That's right, yeah.
Please collect your medication
Yeah.
to continue your wonderful experience.
That's
So
right,
at the
yeah.
start of the Get Over It video, that is the very dear Alex.
Very dear Alex. The coincidental, probably not an Easter egg, but just a cool thing, in that shot, the clock is going like
Yes.
fucking super speed, isn't it? Like,
Yes.
it's going so fast, but we didn't intend on that, did we?
Yeah, no. So if that's actually a good link back to what we were saying about the barn. So that first shot of the Get Over It video, where it's a waiting room, is the live room in the barn. So it's downstairs
that's right.
in the barn.
Just music taken out.
Yeah, it's just the drums
just-
and all of our gear has been taken out.
Yeah.
And that back wall there is normally where
George's drum kit
our
is,
drummer,
and the
will,
guitar
yeah,
and
he
stuff
will.
is.
His back will be up against it.
Yeah.
And that we dressed that wall and the set with some chairs and stuff to make it look like a waiting room. And we put the clock on the wall, and it just started going mad, and it just didn't stop.
Yeah.
And we were like, "That's really cool."
Yeah.
and there's some on the posters in there. If you can zoom in on the YouTube video or screenshot it or whatever, all of the posters are like British doctor surgery posters,
Yeah.
but where all the text was removed, and then things from the EP were written on there. So,
Yeah.
did you know that? You know,
Was it like
it was like, did you know
90%
that 46% of people think they're a maniac?
Yeah,
You know,
that's
things
right.
like
Yeah,
that. And
that's right,
Just
yeah.
cool little like things like that.
But they
were
look
just-
like NHS waiting room
They look like-
posters,
yeah.
if you're familiar with an NHS waiting room.
Yeah, yeah. With those posters, that really sort of like come from the place of where we were coming from with the EP as well. Is like, we're not adverse to talking about shit that we've been through.
And shit that we feel too.
Yeah, and shit that we feel like there's a lot in modern day where people are talking more and more about what's going on in their head, and but there is still that stigma attached to a lot of stuff. And the premise for the Get Over It video was that everything you saw in the videos before that, so you start, if you were to watch them all back to back, you see a story of Adrenaline, of you waking up in the video.
Yeah.
You start seeing
You're seeing the red-headed figures who,
going on to Don't Take This to Heart,
Yeah.
where you wake up in the container, which again,
taken by the red-headed figures.
yeah, which is where we filmed that again at the barn.
That was at
with
the barn
video. Yeah.
in a shipping container.
Yeah, and then it goes on to Maniac video.
Yeah, which is back in the same set as Adrenaline.
Where you wake up again there.
Yeah.
And then with Get Over It, it shows that you're actually in some sort of institution.
Yeah.
Where you've got
And it's very much
where you're strapped up, and it is very much
all
sort
in
of
your
like,
head. And
and it really sort of like, I don't think we've ever written a song where we've go, I want to write a song about this. It kind of just happens naturally where we will.
It's sometimes just as simple as turning around and going, I think I just want this song to be about depression.
We might have like
I think I just want this song to be about this.
We might have like a few lines set up already for a song, and we will always say like, the vibe I'm getting from this song is this.
Yeah.
This is about this. And then we can relate it to either something we have experienced or seen somebody experience, or something that we know people just experience.
Yeah, and it's relatable.
Like
and it just so
Adrenaline-
happened as well that then it just so happened that all of the songs collectively on What a Wonderful Experience started to become quite about the same thing. Around the same
about
time.
like what you feel, what you experience. And Adrenaline is a really good example of that. Song is quite literally about just the inability to, if you have a day or a week or whatever it is where something unreasonably positive doesn't happen, that you think your whole world is collapsing around you.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
And that is like a serious thing that people will deal with, is just like, just because of that in the modern day of TikTok and shorts and reels, of that quick serotonin. And if you don't have anything that like quickly happens to you, or you get that regular boost, that you feel like everything's crumbling around you.
Yeah.
And that's what Adrenaline about it is. You know, the chorus sounds like you're singing about someone, like in a typical kind of song where it's like, nobody loves me like you do.
Yeah.
But we're talking to that feeling of uprising. When it's just, you know, no one treats me as good as you do because you make me feel the best.
Yeah.
And you're essentially
it's
just
completely
saying,
introspective, isn't it?
yeah, it's like a lot of the songs are really like singing into a mirror, aren't they? Like, don't take this
which
to heart.
literally then even happens on the music video.
Yeah,
like I
where
literally sing Adrenaline into a mirror.
And
like,
into Don't Take This to Heart, you're talking, again, it's very self-reflective of like, you know, don't take this to heart, but I've lost what I once loved in you.
yeah, you're not talking,
now I'm talking
necessarily
to myself.
about a person, you're talking about
You.
You.
Yeah.
What a Wonderful Experience, though, the name being, it can be taken into separate ways, can't it?
Like sarcastically.
You know, sarcastically, or that was a wonderful experience,
Yeah.
or damn, what a wonderful experience that was, you know?
Yeah. And Feel Okay has probably got the more, I don't know if I want to say the more positive twist, but I think it's the more reflective and accepting twist of, it's been a ride. I've had the time of my life.
Yeah.
And just accepting that kind of like, this has been fucking hard, but I've enjoyed some parts, and I'm accepting that for what it is, and it's turned me into who I am. So I think that EP is definitely like the one that like hits home, even out of all the singles and stuff before. That one definitely hits home. Again, accidentally, really, doesn't it? Because we don't sit there and go, "Oh, I'm feeling like this today. I'm feeling like I've not had a serotonin boost this week. I'm going to write a song about it."
Yeah, it's just a joint feeling. I think that ended up working out, that we both just had the same feelings at the same time.
And when we write lyrics as well, we will loop a section that's like, will get really annoying for anyone within the vicinity.
Long time.
We'll loop 4 bars or 16 bars for a long time, for like an hour, and we'll both write separately, won't we?
On the notepad on your phone.
Yeah, and we'll be like, I'm feeling this, with this kind of vibe with this. How do you like this? And we will both go, that's a cool line, that's a cool line. Let's save that, park that for later.
Sometimes we get the same line.
Sometimes
Weird.
we'll get the same line. Yeah. and it will just sort of happen like that. So I think sometimes there's a lot of expectation for like a story that caused the song, as opposed to a story that's come from the song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which I like doing it like that. It doesn't feel like I have to experience something to then just be creative.
No,
I can be creative and make it mean.
It can mean something afterwards too.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good, relaxed kind of point to write from, because then you're not pressuring yourself. If you've got like a really good life, you're super happy, and you know, like, that doesn't mean you can't write music or be creative, because you have to write from about something that shitty happened to you. It's those standout emotions that will just naturally come through in a song. And I think that happened a lot with What a Wonderful Experience. And I really like seeing all of the different perspectives that people have taken from. Some people go, oh, I don't like this song, and they'll pick another song where they go, I fucking love this one. And then other people will go, oh, but this one that person said they don't like means so much to me.
Yeah, they say it for different reasons as well, don't they? And then because they say it for different reasons, it kind of makes you think, wow, does it kind of like resonate this a little bit more, because it didn't resonate that with me, and I fucking wrote it. So like,
yeah, literally,
you know, it's like so bizarre.
Exactly,
like,
yeah, and sometimes it will resonate more with me, and I think I definitely apply a bit more emotion to, or not actually, no, that's not right. I think it's I accept a bit more emotion from what gets written. In like, if it's something that you've written that, you know, obviously it's come from your brain and it's something you've been thinking about, but I can take that and go, yeah, I had an experience.
Actually,
that was
I
similar
felt
to
that
this.
too.
Yeah, definitely. A few days ago, we put out on Instagram we had never done anything like this before, have we? So, and we said we wanted to answer some questions if anybody had them.
A little quasi time.
A little Q&A.
A little Q&A.
So we have got some questions, and some of them are music related, some of them are not, but we can either link them to music or not. We have been asked, what is everyone's favourite scene from a music video that we've filmed?
Mine would, without a doubt, be being allowed to throw up black fluid from my mouth, which was a mixture of jelly, cornstarch, water,
muffins,
black muffins,
that were food dyed,
and mixed in a little cup.
That was your favourite? I was actually heaving.
Yeah, where it just.
So in the Get Over It video, it gets to a point later in the song where we are throwing up black stuff. A lot. And it was really bad, because this really ties into the DIY side of it. It was a cup of Ribena, like you said.
Yeah, that's
Ribena,
it.
muffins, jelly.
And
I think
black corn and cornstarch as well. Yeah. So it was horrendous.
And it was fucking
awful. It was like solidified, but also liquid in your mouth.
So I don't know if I'd say that was my favourite.
Yeah, definitely my favourite.
That
was my favourite, yeah.
I think one of my favourite moments was when we shot Adrenaline with the wonderful Zach Pinchin.
Big Zach Pinchin.
And me and George were dragging you on a trolley backwards, so it looked like you were floating through the air. But just seeing that come to life and us making that was super exciting. Cool. Somebody else asks, dream venue / festival to headline?
I think our dream venue is probably the same, Brixton Academy.
Yeah.
Dream festival to headline? I think it's Reading as my headline festival for sure. And Brixton Academy. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Brixton Academy. I mean, headlining a stage at Reading would be cool. Very cool. Especially with the two-parter side of it as well, like Reading and Leeds.
Yeah.
Another question is, some places you'd like to travel to? Doesn't have to be music.
Oh, I love that. Antarctica.
Antarctica. You're not allowed. Have you seen all this?
Yeah, I love that.
We haven't got time for that.
I know, we haven't got time for that.
YouTube it. Yeah. Antarctica. Why can
I know, There's a wall.
Yeah. What's the funniest thing that's happened to you since being in a band? So I guess an experience that we have shared. The first time we met and I come to the bar and I shit myself.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And then what happened?
No, that's fine.
No, that's fine. No, you're right.
You made me laugh so much, and I was not very well.
Yeah, you weren't well.
It happens, and it's fine.
Yeah, it did.
And I shit myself.
It's fine. And it set the precedent. That was the first time we met you.
I was like, we're going to be best friends.
We're going to be best friends now. Mine.
If you want an icebreaker, shout out.
Yeah. Shout icebreaker.
That is absolutely the way to go.
Yeah.
So.
Mine would be wrapping myself in cling film. Well, not wrapping myself in, being wrapped in cling film. Forced. And then forced to ride down a half pipe, which we had built in the barn.
Like a full-size half pipe.
Like a full-size half pipe.
You were wrapped up.
I was wrapped in cling film. I couldn't support myself.
So you had to go to the doctors.
Hit my head really hard.
Because you hit your head really hard.
And I had headaches for a long time.
And that was really fun.
Really fun.
And last question is, the vocal production on TG songs amazes me. Thank you very much. That's very nice. What's the process that goes into them? This
from
is
a production point of view,
I think it's probably a very trial and error kind of thing.
Yeah, it's probably
layers.
It honestly really is.
Shout out Reese May.
But I suppose like right from the very bottom, it's going to be just try this sound. So we try this sound, we sing it. I'd like to point out that I don't sing every part. I don't sing every line. You come in and you sing a few lines, and the lines that you sing work because our voices work together. And I think that's something to really point out from a production point of view. Like if you're asking this question because you want to do something similar, like don't get hung up on like only ever layering with one sound of voice.
Yeah, and also what I think is really important to say is don't get hung up on, you do not have to be the Mariah Carey of singers,
Right.
or like you do, no
Yeah,
you
I know what you mean.
So from
Like,
like my
it's true.
perspective is I will not sing live, I can't sing, but we understand layering and
Yeah.
that my voice is very different to yours, so I will happily process the shit out of my vocals to create a grander sound.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of that, don't we?
Yeah.
There's sometimes when we have a bit of a weird thing where my range is a little bit higher, but I'm not very good at super melodic stuff. So if you
Yeah.
listen to a song like Adrenaline, you'll hear a background vocal of me sitting a C.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's the one, isn't
loves
it?
me
You can hit
like
that
you.
high C
Yeah.
that I can't hit.
And it will just be that.
And it just sits so perfectly
Yeah.
though, like in the mix, you know, and then
It's treating the voices like a piano, isn't it?
definitely.
Really? And
It's
layering it
voicing,
all
it's
out.
100% voicing.
If you've got
like-
a really high-end note that you're hitting, it needs depth to it. So we'll do an octave lower, and
Yeah.
we'll do the harmonies, and we'll
Yeah.
spread them. So
And don't feel like you need to, not everything doesn't have to be so loud.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to put a layer in that when you listen back, you forget you even fucking did it.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, that's awesome.
So thank you very much for the questions.
Thank you so much for the
That
questions.
is very, very cool and some very nice words. Sorry we didn't get around to everyone's. But obviously we are on the UNFD podcast.
We are. Big up UNFD.
Big up UNFD. Very supportive, and we're super grateful for, they just let us run wild, and
Yeah, they do really.
yeah, we get to...
Well, it's the trust, and I like that.
yeah, there's a
We
lot
love
of
that.
trust, and we have such a great relationship with them.
Such a strong label.
And I think like early days, sort of like establishing your... I mean, I think you specifically, really, when you were in that era of like heavy music.
Yeah, so
like really heavy music,
like
it really hit home.
there
for you,
was
didn't
it really hit home. Like, yeah, being with UNFD really hit home. I think for me, with the love I had for previous UNFD artists and UNFD artists that are still currently on the roster now as well. And I listened to so much UNFD music that it was a real big thing, I think, for us to sign to. And I just knew the weight of it, and I knew what it was capable of becoming of us through UNFD. And
Are there any standout like moments or songs where you're just
it's
like...
very good you ask me that, because yes, there are. The one for me, which is actually probably a song that maybe gets pushed under the rug a little bit for the band, is a song called Weightless by Northlane. And it is off the Node album, which is a much older album now. But yeah, that song, it just hits me. It's really big soundscape. Marcus's voice is incredible, and yeah, I love it. I love it to pieces. More current stuff. Void of Vision. I've got this fucking fixation with Void of Vision. Like everything, like their look, their sound. I just want to meet them.
Yeah.
So if you're watching,
Come say hello.
please come say hello. We have been Tropic Gold. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching, the new EP is out now. Please listen everywhere you can. Hit us up on anything you can. We want to talk to all of you. Like, about
we
all
love
of this
hearing
stuff.
all sorts of people's perspective on the songs, and we're working. What we're working on now is what will be the next body of work. However that presents itself to the world, you never know when it's
never know,
ongoing. You could set out to write 4 songs and it turns into 6 songs of What Wonderful Experience.
There you
So
go.
you never know. But we are writing at the moment, and we're super excited for 2024.
Yeah, some really cool
so
things.
thank you so much for sticking around, and we'll see you in a bit.
See ya.
Peace.
This is a Darkside Media production, edited by Giles Bitter and produced by Tom Dark. Follow UNFD on socials at UNFD Central or visit us at unfdcentral.com.